Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. Today is March 29th, 2023, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson. I'm your co-host. One of the great things about the NFL is there is no off season. Even during the off season, there's no off season. Something's always going on. We just had the annual league meetings. Some people call them the owners meetings because the owners are all there, but all the head coaches are also there. A lot of stuff going on, and I'm still in a draft frenzy. So let's get going.
So much to talk about. There's the football games during the season, but also concurrent with the season and well into the off season are the other games that are being played, the management games, the owner games, the talking game. Who was it? One of the guys on TV calls it the lying season.
It's exactly what it is.
you know, and you're listening to these guys. So you're going to do another draft, right?
Yes, sir. Mock draft 2.0 coming up.
Mock draft 2.0. And again, it's my responsibility to remind people that this has been a Barry on football. Please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and go back and check out last week's show where he had mock draft 1.0. Yeah, I learned a few things. On that. So we're going to do, what is this, 1.1 or 2.0? How do you calculate this?
I'm going to call this 2.0.
2.0. Okay, so this is 2.0. And then I'm going to just offer a little something, Ben. Right now, the two biggest contracts in the NFL that are in a flux or undecided status, I would have to say, is Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. So I just decided, I said, well, let's just look at these two guys. Because even in terms of the style of football they play, they represent different factions, big time, And I wanted to go back and look at them. And, I'm a Madden guy, so I wanted to kind of look and see, okay, let's see what the Madden numbers are. Because, again, the Madden numbers they look at them from like a speed or strength or those types of things, those physical attributes that they attempt to put a number in. And, again, everything being relative, But then I also went and looked at Pro Football Focus, and they have a different methodology for how they rank, these players and things of that nature. So I have both of them that we're going to take a quick look at. The Madden thing is obviously fun, but it gets real serious with their Pro Football Focus, because I suspect that when the owners and the agents, whoever are getting ready to look into a player, that's one of the things that they look at. They might use that as a reference too, So if Pro Football Focus is breaking this player down and saying, they're strong here, they're weak there, that's probably something that gets thrown into the calculations, So
I'm pretty sure that anything that Pro Football Focus has, these individual teams have at their fingertips also.
– Well, you might be right. I just
I'm
don't
sure
know
I'm
if it's
right.
all formatted in the same way. But, they get that information from the NFL, and then they have their
Right.
own way of looking at it. Like their expected points added calculation, that's not an NFL calculation. That's a preferred Pro
Okay.
Football
But is that
Focus
something that
calculation.
you think an NFL owner or GM would be interested in?
Why not? Why not? If it's considered, a viable source of information, why not? But we'll look at it, and then, that'll be something that we can always do more investigation as to how much that gets calculated in. We know that the football teams themselves, they have rooms of, people, that's all they do is the calculations and the things of that nature. We talk about how that fits into the game. That also goes into we talked about the young sister. Who was it? Who was she with? Tampa Bay, who was in charge of personnel. She was
Right.
doing all the contracts and all of that kind of stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? So we know that there's a certain amount of intelligence that the teams have. So we'll see, we'll see, and then naturally we go from there and we finish out with the current events at our Ben and Barry on Football Facebook page. All right, so without further ado, the Ben Dickerson 2023 NFL mock draft 2.0.
Okay, now, before I get started, I just want to do the same thing that I did last week. Let everybody know this is my personal mock draft. Anything that looks similar to the players that I picked and the teams that I designated them to Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, or anybody else is purely coincidental. Simply means that when it comes to that player and it comes to that team, I'm thinking just like they are. But I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of differences from them, and we'll see how different and how well I did when the draft actually takes place. But for now, we're doing the first round of the 2023 draft. I'm mostly making my decisions on need, not necessarily a team thinking about taking the best player available at that spot. Although sometimes teams do that, I'm on need. So let's start it off. Oh, and by the way, some of the players that I'm picking and the teams that I'm picking them for will be the same as they were on 1.0. I'll let you know that, and I won't give you a long dissertation on each one of those players, but I'll let you know that guy pretty much stayed the same where he was. That's the Carolina Panthers picking with the #1 pick overall in the draft, sticking with QB C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. Again, Frank Reich is the head coach now with Carolina. He has always preferred pocket passers. He's had Andrew Luck. He's had Phillip Rivers. He's had Matt Ryan. He's had a couple other quarterbacks that I don't care to mention. Stroud is the best in the draft class as far as I'm concerned. Very strong pocket skills, but also has the mobility to escape the pocket if necessary, and he can punish defenses with his legs. But he is, without a doubt, pretty much a classic pocket passer who moves very well in the pocket. The #2 pick overall goes to the Houston Texans. I'm going to stick with my pick there, and that'll be QB Bryce Young. Bryce Young out of Alabama, 5'10", and a very generous 204 pounds. The Texans won't worry about his size because he is probably the most intelligent quarterback in this draft class. He is a proven leader. He plays extremely well under pressure, and he processes plays on an elite level. The #3 pick goes to the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to stick with my original pick there and stick with edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. Will Anderson Jr. is out of Alabama. He's got great size and pretty good speed, 6'3", 253. The head coach with the Arizona Cardinals is now Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon was formerly the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, who were just in the Super Bowl this past season. So he knows the importance of having a great pass rusher. Anderson has the potential to be a dynamic day one starter, so that's why I think he's going to go over there to Arizona. The #4 pick, this one's a little sticky. I don't want to get too crazy about this, but I will say this. In 1.0, the pick for the Indianapolis Colts, I said QB Will Levis. I am changing that to quarterback Anthony Richardson, kind of for the same reason that I mentioned the head coach Rich Gannon for the Arizona Cardinals. I must now mention the new head coach for the Indianapolis Colts, which is Shane Steichen. That fact eluded me last week when I picked Will Levis to go to this team. Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles and had one Jalen Hurts. Why would he go from a Jalen Hurts type offense that he likes to run to an offense he would have to put in for Will Levis when he can get quarterback Anthony Richardson out of Florida? A super freak athlete, 6'4", 244, 4.43 40-yard dash. Kind of sounds like Jalen Hurts, doesn't it? I think Richardson fits in there better with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, here's an asterisk, and I'm going to try to say this really fast because when this happens, everybody's going to remember that I told them first. Now, I know you've been hearing things about the Colts maybe trying to get Lamar Jackson. This makes a lot of sense to me, and I think the Colts are going to make a run at him. Now, whether or not the Ravens will actually make a trade with the Colts, I don't know. They put that unexclusive, I'm probably saying that word wrong, franchise tag on
Non-exclusive.
Lamar. Unexclusive?
Non.
I'm sorry, non-exclusive. But he hasn't signed that. Okay. So it can't really go into effect unless he signs. But anyway.
Yeah, and I looked it up. I forget off the top of my head, but there's a date that he's going to have to sign that thing by, or he's
Right.
not.
There is a deadline on that.
Do
But as
business
of
with
now,
anybody.
he hasn't signed it. And the fact that he has also let it be known that before they actually tagged him, he did go to them and ask for a trade. So they knew before they put the tag on him that he didn't want to be there anymore. If they were to
Wait a minute. I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying, because my understanding was that he asked for the tag after they put the
he asked for the
trade after they put the tag on him.
I think he asked for the trade before they put the tag on. They knew he didn't want to be there. They put the tag on him anyway. And the bottom line is, if in fact they are willing to trade, then this number 4 pick would go to the Ravens. Lamar Jackson would go to the Colts, and then the Ravens would take Anthony Richardson. So when that happens, just remember I told you, okay? We're gonna move.
That sounds very plausible. I'll mention because I do have a list here of projected 2023 cap space for teams that would need to be freed up to acquire Lamar Jackson's $32 million franchise tag. And the lowest two that would have to free up any money are the Falcons at 11 million. That's all they would have to free up to be able to afford Lamar. And their owner already pretty much said no. And the
which
Colts,
means nothing.
Well, that's true to a large degree. And the Colts, so Falcons 11 million, Colts 12 million. So they only have to clear 12 million in cap space in order to afford Lamar's $32.4 million franchise. Correct. Now, the question is Lamar going to play for anybody for $32 million?
If he almost knocked my computer over. If he does not want to be with the Ravens anymore, I say possibly yes.
Why would he play for somebody else? I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about it. Okay, go ahead.
First of all, if they trade him,
I don't want to go off of this is your time to go through your names and stuff.
Yeah, here's the thing. If the Colts get him in a trade, they can, whenever they want to, renegotiate his contract.
Okay.
They can change it whenever they want once he's theirs.
Okay.
Right? So they can give him more. Number 5 pick in the draft goes to the Seattle Seahawks. Edge rusher Tyree Wilson is the pick for those guys. He's out of Texas Tech. Had a career year last season in college, which goes great with the career year that re-signed quarterback Geno Smith had. His dynamic duo of pass receivers, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, are still there. And he's got a rising star, Kenny Walker III at running back, a guy I know you like a lot. That takes care of the offense. So a big-time pass rusher is just what they need. I think he fits the bill there. The number 6 pick goes to the Detroit Lions. They will take D tackle Jalen Carter, as I said before. He's got some problems off field, but he's getting them straightened out. A talent like him is too good for Detroit to let go by. I don't think they will, even though he didn't have a great pro day. I think that the word is on him that on game day, he gives everything he's got, and he's a dynamic player. Plus, they can put him next to rookie sensation from last year, Aiden Hutchinson, who's their edge rusher there, put him inside a D tackle inside of Hutchinson, and that improves their D line immensely. And we know how much help they need on defense. The number 6-7 pick in the draft goes to Las Vegas. They'll take D tackle Kalijah Cansey. That's going to remain the same. Cansey ran a nice 40-yard dash, a 4.67, which is really good for a guy that weighs 281 pounds. He's getting a lot of comparisons to Aaron Donald. And I know you sent me something today about some of these comparisons. I think they were quarterbacks. Some of them might sound crazy, but you never know. Of course, nobody will know until we actually see these guys suit up for an NFL team and actually get on the field and play. But sometimes the comparisons do pan out. Sometimes they don't. At the number 8 pick, that pick belongs to the Atlanta Falcons. I believe they will still go with Nolan Smith out of Georgia. He's a little bit undersized at 6'2", 238, but he actually excels against the run. How crazy is that? I think he's very adept at slipping tackles, and he's a physical freak who had combine numbers that were worthy of a wide receiver. And also just, even on tape, you can see how good this kid is. The number 9 pick goes to the Chicago Bears. Originally, I had them taking defensive tackle Brian Bresee, who's an edge rusher. No, he was D tackle. I think I'm going to change that. I'm going to give them edge rusher BJ Ojulari out of LSU. This guy's 6'2". He's 248. He wasn't in my first. I don't even remember why I didn't have him in my first one. I know I saw his name, but the bottom line is he's too good for Chicago to pass up. He has multiple pass rush moves, uses his hands really, really well. Maybe the best pass rush moves or more pass rush moves than anybody else in this class. And he's really young. Now, when we talk about college players coming into the draft, we think they're all young. This guy won't turn 21 until next month. So he's a little bit younger than most of these other guys coming out there with like 22, 23. The number 10 pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, I had them originally taking cornerback Devin Witherspoon. Instead, and this kind of comes along with a little bit more research I did and listening to some guys on talk radio, I kind of forgot the troubles that they're going to have in their secondary at the safety position. They brought back both corners. So I'm not saying they couldn't use another corner, but why not take one of the best safeties in the class? That would be Brian Branch out of Alabama. He's 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. And although I had the Eagles taking possibly the best cover corner in the draft, they need safety help. And Branch is smart. He seldom makes mistakes in coverage. He's a superior tackle, which is very important at safety. And he has experience playing slot corner. So he can play the slot guy in the nickel defense or when teams go with 3-4 wides, or he can play traditional safety. So I think that'll be a better pick for the Eagles at number 10. At number 11, the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to have them stick with the offensive guard. That's Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern, 6'4", 313. Really good blocker. Started at left tackle for 3 years in college. He's got really great feet. He's an elite pass protector. He has the smarts and the physical ability to also play guard. So it depends. I know they lost a couple of linemen, I think, but I believe they picked up some linemen in free agency also. So he can probably plug and play him either a tackle or a guard. The number
Did he
12,
have a relative, a grandfather, or somebody that played in the league? I know he was. I heard them talking about carrying on the Skoronski name.
that's possible. I would have to check that though. That didn't come out in my research. The number 12 pick again goes to the Houston Texans. At this point, these guys got to figure out how to get some points on the board. They're obviously going to take a quarterback with their first pick. So why not give him a dynamic wide receiver to go along with him? So I'm going to stick with the guy I picked in my mock draft 1.0 and go with Quentin Johnston. And The big deal with that is he's a really big receiver. He's got a 6'10" wingspan, which makes for a huge catch radius. He's very explosive. He gets in and out of his breaks very well. And that's tough to do for a guy his size, 6'3", 208. The most impressive thing about him is after the catch. Now, here's an interesting note for you, Barry. I know you like this kind of stuff. Quentin Johnston had 45 broken tackles on 115 career college catches. Deebo Samuels had 40 broken tackles in 148 career college receptions. And we know what a monster, a yak monster that Deebo is, okay? This guy had more broken tackles on less catches than Deebo had.
Wow.
So there's
a weird stat, broken
that is a weird stat, but
catches.
when we talk about comparisons, that's the kind of stuff I look for. Not because the guy's the same height or the same speed or whatever, but that kind of stuff. Okay. At the number 13 pick, we're looking at the Green Bay Packers. And I'm saying this because I expect the Aaron Rodgers trade to go through. Okay. Because this is the first pick that the Jets have in the first round. However, I heard, and of course we talk about this being Lions season, but I heard that the GM from Green Bay had said it may not necessarily take a first round pick for us to go through with this trade. So I don't know what's holding this thing up. Okay. But assuming that they do spend the first round pick in the trade and Green Bay gets the pick, I think Green Bay will take D-tackle Lucas Van Ness. Lucas Van Ness comes from Ohio. He's 6'5", 272, classic size for a D-tackle. He's got size, strength, and he projects as an elite run stopper in the NFL. Also, he has great versatility as he was equally adept at playing inside as a traditional D-tackle and also outside coming out of a two-point stance. Now, he's tall. He's 6'5", okay? So he can get up in the two-point stance, and he can play edge rusher. So this guy's got a lot of versatility with him. He also recorded 9 sacks and 31 hurries last season in college. 9 sacks for a college guy, that's pretty good, okay? Number 14, New England. I originally had them taking an offensive tackle, Broderick Jones. However, I'm changing that to offensive tackle, Paris Johnson Jr. I just think he fits their mold a little bit better. He's out of Ohio State. He's 6'6". He's 313 pounds. Exceptionally long arms. He's got 36 and 1/8 inch arms. He uses them well in pass protection, but he's also very good at completing his initial blocks on double teams and getting to the second level and getting after a linebacker. Very important for an offensive lineman, especially in the NFL. At number 15, the Green Bay Packers. I had them originally taking tight end Dalton Kincaid. However, I'm going to change that after watching some film and reading about some particulars between him and another tight end. I'm going to pick another tight end for Green Bay, and that would be Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. He's 6'4", 249. The reason I'm picking him for Green Bay is with the Packers moving to Jordan Love at quarterback, I think they should go with the tight end who's not only a good receiver, which Kincaid obviously is, but also the better inline blocker, which Michael Mayer actually is. So I'm going to make that change there, and I'm going to give them Michael Mayer instead. At number 16, the Washington Commanders. I have them sticking with cornerback Christian Gonzalez. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is the thing about doing mock draft 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. This is why Mel Kiper and these guys do a bunch of them over the course of time. You start recognizing talent as you do more studying, more reading, and look at more tape. I didn't realize at first what a great defensive back draft this is. There's DBs all over the place. They're all fast. A lot of them are really tall. These guys all look really, really good. So you're going to hear a lot of cornerback names coming out here. But I got them taking Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. He's 6'1", 197. runs a 4.38 40 so he can blaze. He's got great ball skills, and he's really good in man-to-man coverage.
Ben, I'm glad you mentioned that because I remember just watching the combine, and it kind of struck me with some of the times that were coming in those 4-3 areas, and then DB here, DB there.
It was a lot of
I didn't
DBs.
quite put it all together like
Right.
that, but when you just summarize it, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Yep. That's exactly what's going on. Here's another one. At number 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers. No way they can let Joey Porter Jr. get by. It's impossible. Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. 6'2", 198, really good size for a corner. Ran a 4.46 40. Also, he's got 34-inch arms, which are pretty long for a DB. Exceptional height, length, and speed. And his father played for the Steelers and won a Super Bowl ring with the Steelers. There's no way they let Joey Porter Jr. get by them. At number 18, originally, I had Detroit taking safety Brian Branch. But as I stated earlier, I think the Eagles are going to take him up at number 10. So they will take cornerback Devin Witherspoon. Again, Detroit has to go heavy on defense. That was their weakness. And it was a big weakness. And you could see that week after week when we did our ratings. So they've got to fix that. So I got Devin Witherspoon here. He's out of Illinois, 5'11", 181. He had an outstanding season last year. He was targeted. Here's some numbers you don't hear all the time. He was targeted 63 times, and he only allowed 22 catches. That's like basically on one-on-one in his area. He had 3 picks, and he had 14 pass breakups. So this guy was all over the field, put out some great tape, very exciting player. At number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They need help on offense. Their offensive line's been decimated with free agency and injuries. I have them taking offensive tackle Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma, 6'4", 315, a physical specimen, superior pass protector. Good player for them. Number 20, Seattle Seahawks get the pick again. They also need defense more than offense. Here's another great corner right here. Deontay Banks. He's out of Maryland, 6 feet tall, 197. These guys are all right around the same size. Outstanding athlete. Ran a blazing 4.35 in the 40 at the combine. Very speedy, very explosive. His tape shows he has no trouble in man-to-man coverage. This guy sticks to people like glue. At number 21, we have the LA Chargers. I think they're going to select edge rusher Will McDonald IV. He's out of Iowa State. This is the guy I told you about that had the 3 batted down passes, last season. That's a rare stat also. I didn't even know they kept that stat, but obviously they do. And when I looked at a lot of other edge rushers and deep tackles, they had zeros sitting beside that stat. This guy had 3. He's a straight up speed rusher though. So I think he'll fit well there. Joey Bosa's getting up in age a little bit. He's getting kind of beat up. And who's their other guy? Khalil Mack, right? He's been around for a little while. This guy's a straight speed rusher, 6'3", 239. He's not big, but he gets the job done with his speed. Number 22 pick goes to the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, they're hard to talk about with this whole Lamar thing going on. But regardless of who the quarterback ends up being there, they need receivers. I have them taking Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, the Ohio State wide receiver that played on the other side of Marvin Harrison Jr., who is not going to come out until next year. But this kid is really nice. 6 feet tall, 196, probably the smoothest route runner in this class. He seems to be uncoverable man to man. There's nobody he can't create separation against. He plays just as well on the slot as he does on the outside also. So he's got a lot of versatility there. At number 23, the Minnesota Vikings. Originally had them taking a wide receiver, Zay Flowers, out of Boston College. But I think I found a better fit for them. Remember, they have Justin Jefferson. So I'd like to have them get wide receiver Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. This guy's 6'3". He's 213 pounds. He's the prototypical possession receiver. Remember, they let Thielen go. He was their possession guy. This guy is younger, going to be cheaper, a little bit bigger, okay, and has the same skills as far as possession receiver is concerned. He's got 33-inch arms, 10-inch hands, and he bullies DBs on 50-50 balls. He'd be a perfect fit for Minnesota. At number 24, the Jacksonville Jaguars select cornerback Emmanuel Forbes, Mississippi State. I talked about him last week. This is the guy that I told you is really, really skinny, but really, really fast. He runs a 4.35 in the 40, very explosive, and his ball skills can't be denied. I forget, I didn't put down how many interceptions he had, but the kid's a ball hawk, has a lot of knockdown balls. Now, number 25, we get to my beloved New York Giants. Again, we got Daniel Jones. We've committed to Daniel Jones. Now we have to get him weapons. I think this guy will be perfect. Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee, 6 feet, 176, runs a 4.4 40, has a 40-inch vertical jump. He's the best deep threat in this receiver class. Not necessarily flat out the fastest, but this guy can change gears while he's running his pass routes, man. You got to look at this guy on YouTube, man. This guy's tough. He scored 15 touchdowns last season in college. 15 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns for a college kid. Number 26, the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I didn't want to do this one, but I kind of had to because it just makes too much sense. Nobody wants to take a running back early in the draft, but the Cowboys should take Bijan Robinson out of Texas, 5'11", 215. Now, the Cowboys seem to be comfortable with phasing Zeke out for Tony Pollard. But then Pollard broke his leg late in the season. Now you got to wonder about Pollard. Maybe he is better as a 1-2 punch than as a bell cow. So you bring in Robinson. He's strong. He's fast. He's sturdy. Not to mention he's very shifty when he has the ball, and he's got good hands, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think that's a perfect fit for Dallas Cowboys. And Dak depends on a good running game to be able to make that offense move.
I'm glad you mentioned that about Pollard because it was something I thought about when you're talking about making him a bell cow, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think he had that frame. He was, as a 1-2 punch, like you said, he was very effective, but you slam him up the middle too many times, he's not going to be there. Bijan's is built for that. He's ready to go with that, and he'd be cheap coming in on a rookie contract. So
their offense seemed to run pretty well last year with Zeke and him sharing time. I know Cowboy fans probably didn't like it because they're getting a little tired of Zeke, but it worked out well for them, actually.
Remember, I said they should make Zeke a fullback.
Yeah, well, he's good at pass protection, but I don't think he's that good at opening holes.
Yeah, well, he wasn't good at pass protection on that stupid play that they.
But that's because it was a stupid play and they put him at center. Come on, man. Don't tarnish the man's name now. That ain't right. Zeke is a premier pass protector as a running back.
Okay.
Look, I'm serious.
I'm not arguing with you.
Okay.
I still think it's funny.
Well, that last play was funny.
It was.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that to him. That wasn't right. But anyway, the number 27 pick goes to the Buffalo Bills. I originally had them taking an offensive tackle named Steve Avila out of TCU, but I found a better fit for them. Offensive tackle Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. First of all, he's bigger, 6'5", 333. He's strong. He's quick in getting into his blocks, and he's an outstanding drive blocker in the run game. Buffalo needs that. They also need a running back too, but they just picked somebody up in free agency. Who the heck was it too? Oh, that slipped my mind. But they did get somebody, but I think they'll get somebody else. Anyway, they need to improve their run game. This guy will fit right in. At number 28, we're almost done. The Cincinnati Bengals. I had them originally taking tight end Michael Mayer, but I shifted my focus and gave him to the Green Bay Packers. Therefore, the Cincinnati Bengals will take tight end Dalton Kincaid. The more superior route runner and pass catcher as far as tight ends go. He's probably, as far as running routes and catching the ball, I would say Dalton Kincaid's probably the best tight end in the class. And there's a couple of good ones. He's 6'3", 246. He creates separation, gets open exceptionally well for a guy his size. So safeties and linebackers are going to have to beware. He's going to be a tough guy to cover. At number 29, the New Orleans Saints, I originally had them taking a D tackle, Maisie Smith out of Michigan. However, this will be the first and the only linebacker to go in the first round. I'm going to give the New Orleans Saints, who lost some linebackers in free agency, Trenton Simpson, a linebacker out of Clemson. He's 6'2", he's 235. This guy is a hitting machine. Ran a 4.43 40. And although this isn't a great class for linebackers, he is undoubtedly, at least in my mind, the best linebacker in this draft. Here's a comparison for you, another crazy comparison. His teammate, Myles Murphy, is a 6'5", 258-pound edge rusher. And I think I might have made a mistake there. I actually think he's 268. But either way, at the combine, that guy benched 225 an amazing 25 times. Simpson did the same thing at 6'2",
Really?
235. Yes. 3 inches shorter and about 30 pounds lighter. And he put it up the same 25 times. Interesting.
Okay.
Number 30, the Philadelphia Eagles. Look for more help on their D-line that's starting to age a little bit. I have them taking edge rusher, the guy I just mentioned, Myles Murphy out of Clemson. And here I did make in my notes, I did make the difference in his weight. He is 6'5", 268, which is really great size. He's very versatile, plays the run and the pass very well. He should fit right in there as an understudy for either Fletcher Cox or for Brandon Graham. And at number 31, the last pick in the first round, I'm going to stick with the guy I originally gave the Kansas City Chiefs. That's offensive tackle, DeWan Jones out of Ohio State. I watched more tape of this guy just last night. This dude is scary looking, Barry. He's 6'8", 374. And that's before breakfast. He has a move they call a snatch and trap, where if he gets his hands on the edge rusher, he yanks him down and just pins him to the ground. Monster. Got extremely long arms. Going to be very hard to get around. That's it. Mock Draft 2.0.
My, oh, my, oh, my. I did go back, Ben, because we asked the question about Mr. Peter Skoronski. He is the grandson of Bob Skoronski, who won 5 NFL championships as a tackle for the Green
Bay Packers. Right? It
finally clicked in.
Yeah, it finally clicked. That's cool. That's cool.
I know I heard that somewhere, man. That's
Bloodlines.
Yeah. It's interesting when you talk about it that way. Well, those were some interesting adjustments. I know there was some points when you were going along and I was kind of tracking you pretty closely, like when you were talking about the Vikings and you were like a good possession receiver. And I'm like, yeah, Thielen was, he was the guy that you could depend on, on third down. So you always want to have one of those guys, at least on the other side, because you got one on one side, But long story short, very good rundown for your version 2.0.
Yep. I just wanted the picks to make sense. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm not right, oh well. But those picks make sense to me.
All right. Next up, we talked a little bit about the two biggest situations out there in the NFL relative to contracts that have not been settled. For two of the top players out there, Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers. And although Aaron is what, twice as old as Lamar
Aaron
Jackson?
Rodgers, I believe, is 40 years old. Lamar Jackson should be about 26 years old.
Okay, so he's got a number of years on him. Um, and what I did on some of these numbers, Ben, I actually averaged just the last 3 years, because it's about what have you done for me lately. And I was just going to go with 2022, but considering that Lamar was injured for a good portion or for a portion of that, I decided to 2022,
Yeah,
2023.
he played like 10 games, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, so I figured I'd look at the last 3 years.
That's cool.
And I wanted to look at it in two different ways. So this is my wonderful work, Ben. I'm sitting around calculating numbers and taking a look at numbers. But I wanted to look at Lamar Jackson versus Aaron Rodgers on two different levels. One, from the Madden level. For all our Madden guys out there, it's just interesting to see how Madden has these guys rated in different areas. It's not all the areas. These are areas that I mainly think of as pertinent to being a quarterback.
Okay.
And then below that, we have the Pro Football Focus ratings, which they come at the player from more of the performance level in the actual games, as opposed to Madden, which is looking at their individual features and things of that nature. So let's first off start out OVR, overall rating. And that's the first surprise here, that they have a 91 rating for Lamar and an 86 rating for Aaron Rodgers.
Why is that a surprise?
Because I just think of Aaron Rodgers as being a better quarterback, so I would think his overall rating would be higher in my mind. But let's continue to go down. So acceleration, ACC, obviously goes in Lamar Jackson's favor at 96 versus a 76 for Aaron Rodgers. So we know
there's the answer to my question right
there. That's a good part of it right there. Strength, Lamar comes out at 63, Aaron at 59. Agility, 95 versus Aaron's 81. Awareness, this is the surprise for me.
Oh, that's a surprise to me.
Yeah, to 85 for Aaron Rodgers. And, I'm not sure where that comes from, except for I keep thinking in the back of my mind that he has to have a high level of awareness to be able to run those options. You kind of really got to know what's going on. But, okay, that could be an anomaly. Carry, which has to do with, not fumbling and things of that nature when you're running the ball. He's a 70, Aaron's a 64. So here you got throwing power, where they're pretty much even, 94 versus 93. So both of them can put that ball deep down field. Now, I wouldn't normally have included this, except that you mentioned so many times about the combine. When these guys were jumping 40 inches, you were saying how much of an athlete they were. So I included it here, and Lamar came in at 91. Aaron came in at 76, not bad. And then you have your juke move. So we know Lamar got the juke move.
Right.
Versus Aaron's 53. So Aaron's not really juking on anybody. Even though it's funny, they keep showing this highlight of Aaron rolling out to the wide side, and he kind of takes a guy and goes into the end zone. So there's one guy who was victimized. So you have your throwing power, and I want to jump down to your short accuracy, okay? Your medium accuracy and your deep accuracy, because those are really the pertinent ones. And I believe TUP is play act. That's not, is that play action? Yeah, I believe that's play action, actually. So they're about the same. Actually, Aaron's a little bit better at 90 versus 89. But short accuracy.
Play action?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's play action.
Yeah, okay.
Lamar is a wizard. Lamar is a wizard with the ball. in
Well,
play
so is
action.
I'm not. So is Aaron.
Aaron's good, but Lamar is scary good.
Okay, well, that's what I think that is, but I'll double check on that. But short accuracy, SAC, Lamar is coming in at 89, Aaron at 92. Medium accuracy, Lamar's coming in at 86, Aaron at 89. And deep accuracy, Lamar's coming in at 84, Aaron at 86. So they're pretty close.
Yeah, those numbers make sense.
Yeah, in terms of accuracy. And then the ability to throw on the run. RUN 95 for Lamar and 90 for Aaron. So it's interesting just to see the physical traits and skills as they have them enumerated on the Madden game. Now, that's those individual traits, but in terms of their play, that's where the Pro Football Focus uses their ratings. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 ratings here that I was most interested in: passing, running, and the overall rating. And then I have the TD to interception with the percentage below it. So when you're looking at the Pro Football Focus, Aaron's rated 85.8 to Lamar's 71.7.
As far as being a passer.
As far as being a passer, yes.
Okay.
As far as being a runner, Aaron's rated 75.9 and Lamar's 82.6. The overall rating then puts Lamar at a 79 and it puts Aaron at an 87.2. So that's based on the last 3 years of ratings from Pro Football Focus. These are averages for the last 3 years. So,
okay.
And like I said, if they're looking at contracts and you're looking at paying Aaron almost 60, if Pro Football Focus is saying he's that much, better overall, I wonder if there would be a relative adjustment in that payout in that contract based on that. So I don't know how much they pay attention to that. We'll have to talk a little bit about that. But over those 3 years, Lamar had 57 touchdowns and 19 interceptions for 33.33% touchdown to interception ratio. And we said 1-3 wasn't bad, or 3-1 rather, wasn't bad. So that's not bad. However, Aaron had 111 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. He's coming in at 18.92%, which is better. So
yeah, a lot more opportunities too.
The number had to do with design runs. And Lamar was like in the hundreds and hundreds of design runs. And of course, Aaron was maybe a few. You know what I mean?
A handful.
Yeah. So, it's been reported that Lamar runs on 30+% of his plays. And how much of that is design runs? When I looked at the number, it just kind of blew me away. That many design runs, and it made me think: could they be looking at Lamar as a systems quarterback a little bit? If he's in this system, he's okay, but if you take him out of that system, there's a question mark. So
that sounds more like something that Madden would take into consideration rather than Pro Football Focus. Their stuff is based, they track every player, every play. So they're going to base their ratings on exactly what you did.
Well, that was the numbers I was looking at. I'm trying to get back to where it was that I saw this. But you know where it might have been? Let me see if I can get there real quick. Spot Track. It might have been on Spot Track. I usually look at Over the Cap and Spot Track when I'm tracking money and things of that nature.
Mm.
And it was just a large number. But long story short, we know that, Lamar is way, way more probable to run
Sure.
than Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
And it was funny to hear the owner, was it the owner of the Falcons, question the ability of Lamar to stay healthy, on that type of, but he practically used my old line, Ben. I know a lot of good young running quarterbacks. I don't know a lot of good old running quarterbacks. So he might have been headed in that direction in terms of using my line. But anyway, that's the rundown on these two when you look at them from a Madden perspective, and then when you look at them from a performance perspective relative to Pro Football Focus. And obviously, Lamar has the physical attributes in his favor. We do question that awareness rating, however. And but the performance over the last 3 years, even though Aaron didn't have a great year last year, still well above what Lamar has been able to do.
Yeah, it was a down year to his normal standards.
Right.
So if you're already up here and then you end up here, people say, "Oh, he had a down year." Well, he did, according to where he normally is. He's still above, 3/4 of the guys out there.
Everything is relative, isn't it?
Right.
Everything is relative. All right. As we close out our video, we always go into our Facebook page and look for some current events. And there were some things that were really going on here. So let's take a quick look. Look at that face, Benny.
He'll be back.
Huh?
I said he'll be back.
He'll be back on the field.
Remember when he retired and we talked about the TV job?
Yeah.
TV job doesn't go into effect for a while. I'll believe he's retired when I see him with a suit and tie on in front of a camera.
With a microphone in his hand, eh?
With a microphone in his hand.
All
That's
right.
when I believe it.
Well, for right now, he's now become a part owner of the WNBA's Las Vegas Aces.
He made a good pick. It's a great team.
You like the Aces?
Absolutely.
That's my grandson's name, Ace. I tried to get him to say, I can say Ace. He goes,
well, you got half of
it. So congratulations to Tom Brady. That's pretty cool. Really supporting the WNBA and bringing some additional notoriety and focus to it. So that's a good thing right there. All right. Benny, the Houston Roughnecks played the DC Defenders. I watched it. Did you get a chance?
I just watched a little bit because I was looking at the women's NCAA tournament.
Well, this was interesting because the Roughnecks were like 5-1, and Defenders like 6-0. They were undefeated coming into it.
Right.
And we kind of talked it up a little bit last week, looking forward to it. And coming out the block, the Roughnecks took control, man. I was starting to wonder what's going on here with the Defenders. And then, they have the two quarterback systems. Ta'amu, I believe his name is the one quarterback. And then they have the other guy who's more the running quarterback.
Right.
He didn't play much. They put him in for like a series or so, but they stuck with Ta'amu for the most part through that. And the defense kind of picked it up after a while. And the next thing you know, the Roughnecks were getting roughed up. So it was a pretty good game. I truly enjoyed it. Some good football, some good hits, good catches, good runs. And if you go to our comment section, I do have the link for the video for the highlights. So if you want to take a look at the highlights for the game, feel free to go there. You mentioned Bijan Robinson potentially going to the Cowboys.
Right.
Well, he's following the PGA Tour. This is from off of Twitter, so we don't have really a picture of it, but they got a picture of him there standing there talking to some of the top golfers in the world. So BJ's got some very interest going on there.
Cool.
And, yeah, I know that's pretty cool. And you remember Devin Still and his daughter who had cancer?
Yes.
So he's still in the love light. 1.3 million views and 100,000 likes on this post that he had. Says sometimes you have to look back at your life to remember just how far you have come. So
Right. So how old is she now?
Huh?
How old is she now?
Well, it says she's 8 years cancer free.
Okay.
It was 5 or 6 I believe at the point where he was.
I think so. Yeah.
So if that's her picture right there with her braids and all of that.
She's a teenager.
Yeah. She's a young lady now. She's a young lady.
That's great.
I'm telling you. So congratulations to Leah and Devin Still.
That guy, he shut down his career for his daughter.
The NFL is trying to open the money floodgates. Now, what happened was, this is a Twitter post that came up. And again, a lot of times when I go to share Twitter, it doesn't have a good preview link. So it makes you actually have to go there. But a group of NFL owners is pushing to allow private equity firms and institutional investors to buy stakes in clubs.
Does that mean they're going to wear logos on their jerseys?
Well, private equity firms and institutional investors, I don't know if they're always going to be companies that are trying to, it's not like Procter and Gamble. If you're an institutional investor, you might be a firm who invests other people's money, you know?
Okay.
And so you're not necessarily, out in front. You might be more in the background. Private equity firms, again, that's what they're doing. They own equity in a number of different companies, and they'll buy and sell those companies. Legal Shield, which I'm associated with, was a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. It was bought out by, I believe, Ocean Partners or something like that. Mid-Ocean Partners, that's what it was. Mid-Ocean Partners. And you never hear anything about Mid-Ocean Partners, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, but they buy companies the way people buy real estate. You buy them, you fix it up, and then you put them back on the market at some point.
Right.
And for them, that means, taking them back public. But I don't, they might have had that option with this. But I just thought it was very interesting to see that, because right now the only team that allows any type of public investment is the Packers.
Right.
So this would be something that all of the teams would be opening themselves up to as far as that's concerned.
Okay.
So I just thought that was a neat situation and something that we need to follow because, again, think about it. We were talking about what the cap would be with the additional advertising money. And of course, they're trying to expand into internationally, which is going to be even that much more advertising money. But, if your team's worth, let's say, $1 billion, and now you've got institutional investors that want to put money in it, they might actually bid up the price.
Right.
Or at the very least, that's an influx of cash and money, and you might be able to take the cap to a whole nother level, So we'll just have to follow that. But I thought that was an interesting situation. Well, we're talking about institutional money. Magic Johnson and Josh Harris group, apparently Josh Harris is a billionaire. So you got a millionaire partnering with a billionaire, or is Magic a billionaire now? I don't know if Magic's crossed the billion. I know LeBron has crossed the billion threshold. But they're placing bids on the Washington Commanders. So they're going to try to get on that, man. I think that would be an interesting ownership group right there, you know. And then the question came up, if this ownership group took over before, say, all of the free agent options were closed, would all of a sudden Lamar Jackson be back on the potential list for the Washington Commanders? That would be an interesting. The different ownership group might have some different opinions. They might not be so opposed to those guaranteed contracts that Lamar wants and all the other owners disdain as this. So you were talking about the article that I put up with the comparisons here.
Right.
They compared C.J. Stroud to Geno Smith in the comparison. And I'm just like having a real hard time with that comparison. So for the people who are watching, take a look at this article. And if you have any questions about some of these comparisons, I'd love to see your comments on this. Because I'm like, C.J. Stroud compared to, you know, I keep going to say Lamar.
If C.J. Stroud gets drafted #1 overall and puts up the same stats that Geno put up last year, that'd be tremendous.
You couldn't be mad at him because Geno had a great year.
That's right.
You couldn't be mad at him.
So what? Why would that be not a good comparison? The only thing they can compare is tangibles. You can't compare intangibles. You can't compare that Geno wasn't an ass wipe when he first came in the league. You can't compare that Geno got on people's nerves and one of his teammates punched him in the face when he was young. You can't compare those things. Nor should that diminish.
I'm so glad you say that because those are probably my own personal biases that are still in there that I have trouble with.
It took the guy forever to show what he could really do. So, but he did show what he could do on a team that really was deficient.
He can do it now. He might not have been able to do it because his head might have been too wired up weird back in the day. But now that he's straight, you know, and he's matured, you know. So, and if there's any comparison in maturity to the current Geno and the current C.J. Stroud, that would be big time asset for C.J. Stroud. So, but it's just, you know, I don't know. I don't know who I expected them to compare him to. All right, Benny, we're going to finish up with your meme here.
I thought this was hilarious. Now this is comedy. How to build the worst quarterback.
Oh my God. And you know, when I saw they had my man Kirk Cousins on here, you know, I automatically liked it. I'm like,
Kirk Cousins when it's not 1 p.m. So they didn't really say anything bad about him being a quarterback. It's just he can only play good at 1 p.m. That's crazy.
It's his record. I mean, it's an actual record.
You can't argue with it.
That's what's hilarious. That's what is hilarious.
In fact, I watched Good Morning Football this morning, and whichever one of them McCourties it is, he sounded like me talking to you about Kirk Cousins. He was like, Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback. He's got great numbers. He's got this. He's got that. It's not his fault. He was like really praising him and saying, you know, sure, there's guys. Sure, you got Mahomes. You got these guys. He's like, but you can't really crap on Kirk Cousins and his ability and his numbers. It just seems like when it's big time and it's really time to show, he don't come through. That doesn't make him crap. It just makes him unreliable.
I love it. But we all know that my stat is not an official stat. My brain farts is not an official stat. And that's what you mean when you say you don't come through. That's when they happen. I've seen it. And I was like, oh my goodness, you know. But long story short, his stats were great last year. He had a great year. Joe Burrow's hands, they got the little teeny tiny hands. Zach Wilson's leadership.
Kyler Murray's focus.
Trey Lance, they showed Trey Lance. Trey Lance has played like 4 games. He played like 2 games that he started, then he got hurt. Then the next year he's played 2 games and he got hurt again. So he's played like 4 games. And
Right.
Trey Lance has a great rookie contract because Trey Lance has made like well over $10 million already on a rookie contract. So
yeah, they traded way up to get him. They gave up picks. They gave up #1 picks for
they
him.
gave up multiple #1 picks. Actually,
Oh God.
Jameis Williams' appetite. And what's Jameis Williams eating? W's.
What,
No.
crab legs? Crab leg. Oh, his fingers?
Yeah, remember they used to do the W thing?
Yeah. Eating a W.
What did you think about the bottom one to the right there?
Daniel Jones' balance. That's just on that one play. The guy had one play where he had to breakaway run and tripped over a blade of grass. He'll never live that one down.
Never.
He'll never live that one. That's funny.
Never.
That is funny.
Never, ever, ever will he live that down.
He
That
never
will
lived
always
that down.
be there. In the middle of his, and especially with him now being such a dual threat quarterback and running as much as he's running.
Yeah.
I can see his Hall of Fame highlights, taking off here and taking off there, and then they just throw that one in there, just have him trip.
He actually has pretty good balance. That's just, what are you gonna do?
Something, Ben? But you and I know as guys who played running back, what that's like when your leg just seems to give out under you when you're running. And I always remember for the Niners, Steve, come on, help me, Steve Young.
Yeah,
one touchdown.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was able to.
Luckily, he was close enough to the end zone to stumble in.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There was nobody near him, and he just
was. And again, him being a running back early on in his career probably helped him at that moment because, like I said, we've all been there. Where it's like the legs just seem like they're giving out on you,
Yeah.
And you're just going down, and there's nobody around you, nobody hits you, and that's when they blame it on the blade of grass. So,
turf monster.
The turf monster got you. Well, that was fun, Ben. I don't know if it's as much fun as that drink you just had there. What are you drinking again now? Is that
I'm
same
almost
stuff?
done. Uncle Nearest, 1884.
Okay. All right.
Tennessee whiskey.
Tennessee whiskey. Smooth. Ben, that's all I got. What you got?
Well, I noticed that you put up a question about the women's Final Four, which is a subject near and dear to my heart. So obviously, LSU defeated Miami, Iowa defeated Louisville, South Carolina defeated Maryland, and Virginia Tech defeated Ohio State. So you have a Final Four of LSU will have to play Virginia Tech. In my one bracket that I attempted to make for the women's tournament, I had South Carolina and LSU meeting in the final. So I'm still alive there. However, I watched Virginia Tech last night. They're pretty good. And they got a girl, her last name is Amore or something like that.
Yeah.
He's a banger from the three-point line.
Is she the one? There was some video out with her staring down this sister who said the sister said something to her. And she just like gave her the look like, but then on the other hand,
the handshake line?
Yeah.
No, that's somebody else.
That was somebody else. But then, okay, the LSU girl, this girl's like Miss Wonderful. She's like Stephen Curry of women's basketball.
No. Let me
take me out here.
The Steph Curry of women's basketball is Caitlin Clark. She plays for Iowa.
Iowa, that's right.
The girl you're talking about played for Louisville. They're out. They got beat.
Okay.
They had just defeated another team, and a girl said something to her, and it's the cute little white girl with long pigtails. And she was like, "What?" She was ready to rumble, yo. And the funny thing is, she was like, "Yeah, whatever," and kept going. But her teammates behind her all got around the girl like, "Say what?"
Oh my goodness. Shoot.
Yeah, they had her back. They had her back. Yeah, but they're out. So I'm taking South Carolina all the way, obviously. Dawn Staley is a friend of our families. My wife's family and her family grew up in the same project, right across the walkway from each other. Their front doors faced each other. I met Dawn when she was really little. I could probably figure out how old she was. If I knew how old she was now, I was 20 years old when I met her. So she was like a little kid, you know. And Teresa used to babysit her and her sister and her brothers when her parents went out. So we're really rooting for her. And some real cool stuff about Dawn. I know we do football, man, but this is I gotta. So if you don't know, Carolyn Peck is a black female head coach of a women's college team. Was she won a national championship with Purdue back in '99? She now does television. Okay, she's a commentator. After she became a commentator, she was watching a lot of games and commentating a lot of games, and she kind of was drawn to South Carolina. She did a lot of their games, and she was drawn to Dawn. And one day she pulled Dawn to the side and said, "When we won the championship in '99, we cut down the nets. I cut off a piece of the net, and I want you to have it. And when you win a national championship, I want you to give it back to me and give a piece of your net to another black female coach."
Oh,
That is like the
she's
coolest
starting the
story
whole
ever.
tradition, eh?
Yes, yes. And Dawn said she carried that thing in her wallet until 2017 when they won. And she gave her piece back, but then she didn't know who to give hers to. So she cut little 6-inch pieces off the net and sent it to every black female women's basketball coach in the country.
Wow.
They all got a piece.
That's great.
Every one of them. I thought that was tremendous, man. I thought that was great. Now, the last thing I want to say before I'm ready to get out of here is, guess what? There are a number of NFL players that do not have agents. So let's get off this agent thing. All right. I'm not saying he shouldn't have an agent. I'm not saying he should have an agent. I'm not saying an agent could or could not be doing him better in his situation that he's in. Could go either way. All I'm saying is he is not alone. There are double-digit players in the NFL as we speak who do not have agents. I will give you 3 of them: Jacoby Brissett, DeAndre Hopkins, and Bobby Wagner, who just negotiated his own way back to Seattle. I'm just saying.
It's funny that you say that because I just did some research. I didn't add it to the show, but I do have a list, and it's about 15 players.
Yep.
Who acted as their own agents.
Yep.
But it was interesting to see one report that said Lamar not only refuses to have an agent, but he refuses to even talk to the other guys who've been through the experience of negotiating their own contract without an agent. Which to me, that don't make a lot of sense either.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me either.
The other name that came up, interestingly enough, was Larry Tunsil.
Yes, who has done very well for himself. He's the highest paid offensive lineman.
Yeah, yeah. And especially after coming out of college and having that whole thing, what happened to him with the
gas mask.
Gas mask.
That was some good weed he was smoking. That was that brainy weed.
Well, he came out of that.
Some of that.
He came out of that situation. and he's done well for himself. So whatever money he lost, he's more than made up.
More than made it up, sure.
More than made up for that money. So
here's the crazy thing, though. None of those guys have found themselves in the position that Lamar is in right now. Not saying it was easy for them to do what they did, but I'm saying he's in a whole different situation from a normal contract negotiation.
Yeah.
And the fact that he won't take advice or even listen to anything that anybody has to say to him kind of baffles me. I don't think that's, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. I really don't.
Well, I'll only say this. I remember somebody one time saying you can't live long enough to make all the mistakes. So you need to learn from some other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
And you know, the collective wisdom that is out there. And again, I stick to my suggestion. Go get those young ladies that Jalen Hurts got. You know, break somebody off a little bit of money, you know, quit trying to hoard all of it. You know, I keep thinking about the contract that Mahomes has and how complicated putting together a 10-year deal is, you know, and when you're trying
that
to
benefited him and the team.
And the team. And
if the team may reward him by renegotiating that contract before it's up.
Right. They've renegotiated it already.
Yes.
And part of it, the setup was giving them that flexibility, and they appreciated that.
Right.
But again, does anybody want to give Lamar a 10-year contract?
No.
Well,
I wouldn't give anybody a 10-year contract. I wouldn't have gave Mahomes a 10-year contract.
But if you're going to give out long-term contracts, you want somebody that you think is going to be there long-term, and that's a question when it comes to Lamar. Well, let me ask you a quick question before we go. What length of contract would you think Lamar would be appropriate for Lamar?
4 or 5 years.
Okay, all right.
If I'm talking long term to me, generally speaking, is 4 years in the NFL. For Lamar, I definitely wouldn't go past 5. I wouldn't go past 5. And my thinking is, and believe me, I'm nowhere near any kind of contract negotiator, but I'm thinking I'm going to do like the 5th year option type thing. I might guarantee the first 4, but not the 5th one. And when we get to that point, then I have the option to pick it up or say, nah, something along those lines. He has to understand that. The position he plays and the way that he plays, he has to understand teams are going to have reservations. They have to.
Well, I mean, if he doesn't understand it after what the teams have said,
and he's fighting that,
then you know he's going to have a hard time. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, could Lamar Jackson actually not play football for a year or two?
At least one. I can see it.
I'm getting that feeling. You know, I'm getting that feeling because of, you know, he's just not, you know, and you said you said it wasn't the money, it's his mindset. So if anything can hold you back, it's stinking thinking.
That's true.
So
that's true.
You know, and I'm like, give them young ladies some of that money, man. You know, give them sisters some money, you know, let them help you out a little bit. And you can focus on football and focus on, you know, they might have told him what I think, what I would tell him as his agent. Like, go put some tape together, you work in the pocket. You know?
He's already proven he can do that. I don't know why people
I don't think it's totally believed yet. You might think he's proven it.
You can look it up right now. He doesn't have to put no new tape. The tape is there already. Look at his MVP season.
You think the teams in the NFL all believe he's a good pocket quarterback?
A good pocket quarterback?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Or a player who can play from the pocket if necessary.
A player who can play effectively from the pocket.
Yes.
You think all 32 teams
Yes.
think he can?
Yes, they know he can. They
Okay.
seen it. They got eyes like we got. You seen it.
Okay.
You don't believe it.
I don't
You
believe
should
it.
go back and look.
And I don't think they believe it. I don't think if you put him in a West Coast system that he'd be effective.
Why would you put him in a West Coast system?
It's a pocket system.
Why would you put him in a West Coast system when you got teams out here that got other quarterbacks and read option systems and RPO systems?
No, understand what I'm saying. Okay. I'm not saying that you
Who cares?
the teams who run those systems.
Screw them teams.
Well,
There's plenty of other teams. You act like the Ravens are the only team that uses a running quarterback.
no, I'm saying look at the demand for him. It ain't there.
It's not because of the system he runs. It's not because of that.
I believe it's
Not
part
because of that. It's because of the position that the Ravens have put him in.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, as usual, ladies and germs, we end up with a great disagreement. That's what makes Ben and Barry on football so much fun. And why, how long has it been now? 40 plus years?
Yes, sir.
We've been banging heads on football, pros and cons, and disagreeing and agreeing and going with it. All right, Benny, you got the last word.
I agree with Cam Newton. There's not 32 quarterbacks out there better than him. Peace.